The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, my name is Gabe Howard and welcome to the monthly Psych Central webinar series. We have a great webinar for you this month with an excellent presenter. Before we get started, there are a couple housekeeping items that we want to go over real quick. First, we cannot see or hear you. So if you wish to communicate with the presenter, that's fine. Just go ahead and type in your questions or comments during the presentation. But please keep in mind that all questions will be held to the end where I will moderate them to our presenter. That's really it. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Victoria. She would tell you about her webinar and herself. Victoria, welcome.
Hi, Gabe. Hi, everybody. So it's great to be here. Thank you, Gabe. I'm excited to talk to you all about how to develop a daily practice and what a daily practice actually is. I know that people hear the words daily practice and oftentimes their mind goes to something like yoga, meditation, or prayer, or something like that, and that certainly can be a daily practice for sure. But I think it could be a lot more than that, and it could be a lot simpler than that, and I definitely am excited to share what it could be for you. So just a little background. I've been working with clients for years. And when they approach me with all sorts of issues and concerns. And it doesn't matter what they come to me with. It could be a career concern, or it could be a divorce. It could be anything. They can't lose weight. It doesn't matter what the issue is. I always start, the first exercise is, okay, you're going to go home and you're going to develop a daily practice. And at first, usually people are like, I don't even know what that is, or they have their own idea, like I said, of what they think that is. But I give them very, very little guidelines, and I just see how it goes. So you'll understand why I give that as the first exercise as we go through this. So I encourage you to just bear with me as we go through the presentation, and I promise at the end it'll all come together and make sense for you. So what we're going to start with first is, what is a daily practice? Well, basic. A daily practice is time alone, time to reflect. You have to do it every day, and it's intentional. So it could be 3 seconds of you taking a deep breath and saying, okay, I'm having a daily practice right now. How do I feel? That could be your whole daily practice. If you do it every day, if you're alone, if you're taking a minute to check in with yourself, it's that intentional piece. That is a daily practice. And again, the reason why I start with this is because you would not believe how many people, after a week between meeting with them for sessions, they can't even give themselves that. They can't even give themselves that 3, 5, 10 seconds of checking in with themselves. And that's powerful. That's a huge, powerful lesson. If someone can't do that for themselves and give themselves 5 seconds to just reflect, that's very revealing to me as someone who's trying to get you to feel empowered and to have a daily practice and to grow in the ways that you personally want to grow. So all the other issues become really illuminated, whether it's divorce, career, whatever it is, relationships. If you can't give yourself 5 seconds to take a deep breath and check in with yourself on a daily basis, well, we've got a lot of foundational work to do. So, and we'll get more into this as we go along, but at a basic level, what is a daily practice? It's time alone, it's time to reflect, has to happen every day, and it has to be intentional. And again, one other reason that I start with this as the first tool with clients is because you don't need anybody or anything to do a daily practice. And my job as a counselor and a coach and a therapist, whatever, is to empower you to not need me eventually. I want you to learn to dig deep and to not rely on, and not just me, anyone or anything. The answers are within you. And so this tool will get you there. So anyway, so that's what a daily practice is. What a daily practice isn't. Okay, the biggest thing is rules, 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 rules. People, when they want to start a daily practice, now this is outside of my work with them. Let's just say that you sit down and you want to start a daily practice. You get up and you start journaling every day, or you start a yoga practice, or you start meditating, or you start walking, whatever it may be, whatever you're deciding is your quote unquote intentional daily practice, or just basically anything. Oftentimes as we go along, before we know it, we have rules. We have these like crazy rules, like, well, I started journaling in a black pen and I wrote 4 pages yesterday, so I can't go on, because it becomes so overwhelming, because like now you have to sit down, it has to be 15 minutes, you got to have a black pen, you got to write in script because you wrote in script. It becomes overwhelming. And so all these rules that we put on ourselves, that a daily practice has to look a certain way, I'm here to say no. That is not a daily practice. A daily practice one day could be 3 hours long, and another day could be 30 seconds. If you're taking time alone, if you're reflecting, if it's intentional, and if it's done every day, that is how I personally am defining a daily practice. And that is what everybody could use as a tool, because a lot of us go through the day and we don't even do that. So, okay, but there is one rule, and that rule is you have to do it every day. You have to be consistent. So that's really the only rule. So like I said before, it could be an hour long, it could be 30 seconds, it could be journaling one day, it could be meditation another day, it could be a lot of different things. But the key is it has to be consistently every single day and become a non-negotiable for you. So that's the only rule. Consistency, daily. It's a daily practice, so it has to happen every day. Makes sense? So, the other thing is, you don't want it to become just like another item on the checklist. And that's often what happens when you start adding all these rules. It's like, oh, okay, well, I got to sit down and journal. And it's like, now it's got to be a 15-minute thing, or whatever those things are. We just don't want it to be this thing that it becomes this burden. So that's the freedom of no rules is key here to developing a daily practice. And obviously the consistency of doing it every day is also key to a daily practice. So, okay. So let's get started. So what's the first thing you have to do to develop a daily practice? It's commit to developing it. Just commit that every day you're going to start with 30 seconds. Start with a breath. Start with 3 minutes on sitting in meditation. Start very small, but just commit to doing it. And to committing to doing it, the first thing you have to do is figure out why. Why do you want to even do this? Why are you listening to me talk about this? Why did you sign up for this webinar? Why do you personally want to develop a daily practice? And a lot of times that answer is rooted in pain. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's true, right? Like oftentimes in our life, like you just get to this point where you're frustrated at work, or you're frustrated in your relationship, or you're frustrated with your finances, or your whatever it is, you're just not happy. You're frustrated in your own physical body. That's usually the root cause why someone's like, something needs to change. That's why I want to do this. I'm willing to do anything. That's why I'm going to just try this daily practice thing, because something needs to change and I don't know what it is. So it's your why for changing it. It's your why for that pain point. So what's motivating you, basically? Like, what's motivating you to want to do this? And it's important to have that clarity. It really is, because if you don't know why you're getting up and trying to do this, why are you going to keep going? So, but you want to get a little more concrete. So this is, what is your vision, right? So you have this idea of what you want to change, right? Like, so let's just say you're someone who, you've been struggling to lose weight. Like I've worked with a lot of people like that, where their real struggle is like, or anxiety. I mean, there's a million things. So you know why you want to do this, right? You feel this pain. You want something to change. But what do you want that change to result in? a daily practice isn't going to make you lose weight, right? No. So it's more like you want to feel more confident. You want to feel calmer. You want more clarity in your life. You want to just, like, with anxiety and depression, a big one is you just want to feel more calm, more focused, more clear. You want to be able to not stress out, over little things or over even big things. You want to be able to go with the flow more. Like, we want to get a little more clear with just identifying your pain point. We want to also get clear, like, okay, well, what's the positive of that? What do we want to change? And then make it concrete. So, if your why is that you struggle with anxiety, if your vision is that you want to be someone who's more calm and confident and goes with the flow and you feel just more ease in your body, the direct result of that is, you're calmer at work. You're calmer with your family. You enjoy things more. You don't stress out over things. So really working yourself through that thought process. What is your why? What do you hope that change will result in internally, right? Internally, a feeling. And what will the external results be of that? Make it more concrete, like at work or with your friends or whatever it is. You want to be more confident, with in your job or with your relationship or whatever it may be. So I think you get the point. But yeah, clarify that vision. And a lot of people, they find it helpful to create a vision board. And I'm sure, you probably heard of the concept of a vision board. And this works for some people. Doesn't work for others. It depends on what you're trying to do. If you're someone who wants to be more confident, this can be helpful to show pictures of, like, more confidence and things like that. But basically, a vision board is when you take images of things that you want in your life or you want to feel like. So this mock vision board that I put here, this might be someone who they struggle with anxiety or they struggle with depression, and they want to travel more. They want to have a support network around them. They want to eat healthier or cook for themselves or go to fine restaurants. I don't know. It's a nice picture. Maybe they want to go to fine dining restaurants. Maybe they want to hike more, spend more time in nature. Whatever it may be. When they look at these images, it means something to them. And they can maybe look at that vision board before they do their practice. Maybe that is even their practice, that they look at and they say, today I'm going to work towards that. I am that. And so the vision board can help. And it's not for everyone, but for some people, having that external visualization to focus on, to guide you towards the clarity of what you're trying to achieve with your daily practice can be helpful. So another tool that can also be helpful is creating an affirmation. So that kind of goes with the vision board, but doesn't have to. A lot of people find this one specifically extremely helpful if they're doing, if they only can get themselves to do like a few seconds of a daily practice, right? So again, let's just say you struggle with anxiety or depression, and your goal is to just have more confidence, or to be calmer. If you do a daily practice and your whole goal is that every day you're just gonna, the only goal is to get up and get on your yoga mat or whatever. I don't know why I said that. Just sit somewhere and close your eyes, take a deep breath, and repeat your affirmation while you're breathing. And I actually like to say, inhale, I am. So inhale, I am. Exhale, calm. And actually a nice little compliment to that, I'll just throw this in there as a little sidebar, is actually if you put your hands on your belly when you do that, it naturally brings your breath down to your belly. And when you breathe into your belly, it makes you feel calmer. So this is a really nice beginner daily practice. It only takes a few minutes. And it does all the things we want it to do. You can do it on your own time alone, time to reflect. It's intentional, but it's also very affirming, right? Like you're checking in. So maybe you take a deep breath, you inhale, you exhale, you check in with yourself. And then to stick with the practice, you practice this kind of affirmation. I am confident. I am, exhale, calm. And hands on the belly, it drops your breath, you're breathing into your belly, so you're feeling calm. So it's a really nice one for someone who maybe is struggling with anxiety, for example. But there's other things too, if we go back to that vision board for a second, I'll just go back here. If you're someone that's struggling with losing weight, if that's your pain point, is that you hate your physical body. Oh gosh, I hear that one a lot. And it's not just weight related. A lot of people are so harmful to themselves about their body, and a daily practice can help with that too. How? Well, a vision board is interesting. I have some clients who can't even visualize themselves healthy. They don't even remember what that feels like. They can't visualize themselves vibrant or calm. Like they don't know what that's like. So again, that's what a vision board can be helpful for, is like putting some images that maybe get you to that place. But again, this I am is super powerful, because if you can learn to drop your breath to your belly and calm down, as opposed to breathing in your chest, which is energizing and quite frankly anxiety producing, right? It almost mimics hyperventilation when you breathe into your upper chest. If you can drop the breath and say I am and repeat that with your breath for a few breaths, that's a daily practice. And by the way, that's a pretty powerful tool now that you have in your toolbox to use outside of your daily practice, right? Because you can do that anywhere. So again, this can be adapted for whatever you're trying to go through. And this is just an example. But whether you're journaling or whatever your daily practice may be, having this kind of affirmation connected to your daily practice is very helpful, actually, because whatever it is that you reflect upon in your daily practice, and whatever it is that you check in and that you feel, if you can connect an affirmation with that, then throughout the day, you can easily get yourself back to that feeling that you felt during your practice. Because let's just say you're on your mat, or you're, journaling, or you're sitting with your tea and you're checking in with yourself, and you feel a certain way, and you're like, wow, like I'm like super anxious today, like, oh my gosh. And then you calm yourself down, and so 3 minutes go by, you're calmer, whatever it may be. And now throughout the day, like if you start to freak out, or if you have a moment where your anxiety rises, just go back to that affirmation that you created in the morning, or created for yourself, whatever it may be. So anyway, so that's affirmations. I'm sure you've heard them. Mantras, affirmations are called a bunch of different things, but it is a super powerful tool, and it is a great accessory. I'll call it an accessory to a daily practice. So, okay. So, and we are going to get into how to actually set up your daily practice into your day. Okay. So what are your values? So the reason I ask that is because your values and the way your day is structured is super important for being able to incorporate something like this into your life. Okay, so one of the first exercises I normally have people do after, the assignment of, hey, develop a daily practice is, hey, let's explore what your current day is like from start to finish. I want to hear all the details, all the nitty-gritty details of your perfect day. I mean, of your current day. Like, what happens when you get up in the morning? How do you feel? Like, do your kids run into the room? Does your husband nudge you? Do you throw your alarm clock across the room? What is your current day like? How do you feel from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed? What do you eat? What do you do for exercise? Do you exercise? Do you go to work? Do you have a long commute? Like all these, I want to know every detail. And then I want to know what your ideal perfect day would be like. And the reason I do that is because it's often fascinating to hear how different it is. And quite honestly, it's usually actually not that different. It just usually takes a little restructuring. And so it's interesting to see the difference. And it's interesting to see where people are currently spending their time and their energy, and versus where they're saying they want to spend their time and their energy. So actions speak louder than words though, right? So if you're spending all this time, if your day is set out, like laid out in a certain way, and all this time and energy is going towards certain things, that's revealing part of your value structure. So like for example, if you have kids, right? That's when we're trying to figure out where to do your daily practice. It's important to know that you want to spend a lot of time with your kids, or you want to spend a lot of time preparing meals, or you want to spend a lot of time doing X, Y, Z. It's important to just really have a good handle on what you enjoy in your day, what's taking up time in your day, what's an energy suck in your day, what's working, what's not working. It's really important so that you can start to figure out how to streamline things, how to get rid of things, how to make space, but also to acknowledge that if you're spending X amount of time with your kids, then that's something that we don't want to touch necessarily. Whether you have that in your perfect day scenario or not, like, we need to consider that because it's obviously important to you. Your actions are speaking louder than your words. So, so all this to say, we're going to pick a time of the day to do this. Again, this is know yourself. So know what your values are, know where you're spending time. We're going to start to streamline some of that time. We're going to start to see what the difference is between your current day and your perfect day. What can we get rid of? What's an energy suck? But where are your values? Where are the things that you really enjoy that you know yourself? Know yourself. Like, it does us no good for you to say to yourself, I'm gonna get up at 4 a.m. and do my daily practice. It's like, really? But really? I mean, if you're not a morning person, like, let's not commit to that, right? So know yourself, because consistency is key. So I will say, as a side note, that most people find a daily practice, they find most success doing it first thing in the morning, like literally like rolling out of bed and like opening up their journal, or, doing a yoga practice or whatever their practice is. Like, most people, the majority of people I work with have more success in the morning, but I definitely have those people that they're just evening people. They like to do it before bed. They like to do their practice before bed. They like to close out the day and reflect and check in, and that is just as powerful. Like, it's powerful on both ends of the day, quite honestly. It's powerful to set your day up with a daily practice, and it's powerful to end your day with a daily practice. And hey, if we're saying there's no rules and it's only 30 seconds, why not do it both times? Just throwing it out there. But it is also helpful. We did this whole perfect day, current day scenario. It is also important to acknowledge potential obstacles. Like, what are the things that pop up? If you say that you're going to do your daily practice first thing in the morning, and you have kids, and there's a potential obstacle there, right? Like, your kids may just run in and wake you up. I don't know. Or something with your job might distract you. Who knows? There might be something that comes up. It's good to understand when you're saying you're going to do your daily practice, and to understand what could potentially cause it to go astray, and to plan for those things. Here's another one, right? If you're someone who loves to do your daily practice in the morning, well, what happens if you have a day where you have to go to work early, or you have an early morning flight? Again, there's only one rule, and that rule is you have to do it every day. So if you have these potential obstacles, you can, like my little third bullet there, be willing to adjust and plan out another time to do it throughout the day, or just get up a few minutes earlier. So identify potential obstacles and plan for them. So that goes back, this is the piece that a lot of people miss. Because when I say that there's only one rule, when I say that it has to be consistent and daily, like, I really mean that. That's the magic of it. So it's non-negotiable. So just like eating and going to the bathroom and things that, like, we have to do, that's what your practice needs to be. Because when you commit to it on that level, you're saying that every single day I deserve at least 30 seconds of my own time. That's what you're saying. You're affirming that to the universe, to the world, whatever. You're affirming that to yourself, most importantly, that I'm worth checking in. It's worth it. And this, if I do nothing else for myself throughout the day, I'm going to give myself my daily practice. And that's magic right there. I mean, because if you can get yourself to that place of saying, no, this is happening, like, this has to happen. And again, there's no rules, right? It doesn't need to be this big drawn out thing where it's great if you can, the more time that you're willing to commit to yourself, like, awesome, that's awesome. But again, no rules, like be willing to adjust. If you can only do 30 seconds or an hour or 3 minutes, I mean, that's fine. But the point is, the magic and the power is the fact that you made it a non-negotiable. The fact that you made you a non-negotiable. That's the power right there. So again, so be willing to adjust. And it's just like everything else that's super, super important to you. If it really means something to you, you'll make it happen, right? Like you'll make it happen for the day. So I didn't mean to spend that long on that slide, but there you go. Pick a time of the day. It's important. Okay. So create a safe space. All right. In this, you know, some people have a space that they can actually create in their home. I'm not that fortunate. You know, if you are, that's fantastic. But if you have a place where you can actually like create this beautiful, like, you know, elaborate space where you go and you feel calm and you feel safe and you feel relaxed, like that is awesome. If you don't have that luxury, you can still create it on your own in whatever space that you have. And what I mean by that is like this ritual space. So the reason why I keep like saying the word yoga mat is because it's not necessarily that I think you should all be doing yoga, although I'm a yoga therapist, I love yoga, but I know it's not for everyone. But I do believe there's power in the yoga mat. And so what I mean by that is, if you don't have a space in your home that you can, you know, go and be by yourself, except for your bedroom or something, if there's really no place where you can make it like comfortable and quiet and calm for yourself, except for like maybe a cluttered room somewhere, I like just unrolling my yoga mat. I unroll my yoga mat and my yoga mat becomes my safe space. It also becomes a signal to myself that I'm doing my daily practice right now, whether it's 3 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it is. Like, you unroll the mat, I've created my safe space, I step on the mat, I'm in my safe space, and I can take a deep breath. So now it doesn't matter as much that maybe the room isn't as, you know, aesthetically pleasing as I'd like it to be. It doesn't matter that you're traveling and you're in a hotel room somewhere. It doesn't matter that you're staying at a friend's house. It doesn't matter where you are, because you've unrolled your mat and your mat's your safe space. You hop on the mat and you can do your daily practice. Again, it's ideally you'll have like a room you can go to that's not triggering to you, that makes you feel calm. You can do your daily practice outside. By no means do you need a yoga mat. Don't misunderstand me, please. But I like this idea of having something that signifies that you're starting your practice. For some people, it's not a yoga mat, actually. For some people, they light a candle. That's why I have that little candle thing there. Sometimes people like to light a candle, and that means, hey, you know what? Everyone around me is going to disappear, and I'm going to just focus on myself for a second, and I'm going to do my daily practice. And it's very intentional. It is. It's very intentional. You light that candle, you sit down, you take a deep breath, and that's it. Or maybe it's you're sitting with your cup of tea and a journal, you know? So basically what I'm trying to say is, like, a safe space is really just a place where you can go and be left alone and you can look within. So, but however, having that ritual attached to it is helpful because it also brings kind of continuity with you, right? Like, you're not always going to be in your home, in your space, right? That's another one. You know, like, that becomes an excuse, right? Like, I'm not in my home, so I can't, or I don't have my safe space, or I'm not in my regular routine, so I can't do my, no, you can do it anywhere. You know, that's why I love the yoga mat thing, because it's very, very clear. You know, you unroll that mat, you hop on it, and you journal, or you meditate, or you do yoga, or whatever it is, and it's very clear. I'm doing my practice. You roll it back up, and you go on your way. So yeah, so creating a safe space, though, finding that place where you feel like you can take a deep breath and relax, even if it is 30 seconds, is key. It's another key piece. Not being bothered, it's another key piece. So this is why also doing your daily practice on the bookends of the day, like either or first thing in the morning or at night, when everybody else is like going to bed or asleep or doing their thing, it's helpful to not be interrupted and to just know that this is my safe space to just do my thing. Okay. All right. So Oh, and one last thing. As you go along with your daily practice, this piece becomes easier. The safe space becomes easier because as you do it and it becomes more non-negotiable, you can be more flexible with it. So, but anyway, that's just a little side note. But in the beginning, especially, it's super critical to have like something, someplace set aside where you can just know that you can be alone. Okay, so why does a daily practice work? Okay, so I often say the way we do small things is the way we do big things, right? So the reason that I give a daily practice as the first little like assignment for the people I work with is because, again, if you can't give yourself no rules, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, a deep breath every day, if you can't do that for yourself, then how are you going to be able to do bigger things for yourself? How are you going to be able to really take the time to work through things that are important to you, or to answer your why question? I venture to say that a big reason why your why exists is because the small, being able to take that time for yourself and really address it, there's something off there. There's something off. And I'm not, it could be a lot of different things, but being able to take time for yourself, and again, boundary setting, right? Because that's what you're teaching. You're teaching everyone in your life, especially yourself, this idea of boundary setting when you're developing a daily practice. Why? Because no matter where you are, no matter where you are, you're going to fit this in, right? So there's going to be a moment where you're going to have to say to someone somewhere like, hey, no, I'm doing my daily practice. Like, I just need a minute. And that's you verbalizing and setting a boundary. You're setting it, like, remember the whole perfect day, current day scenario. You got to fit it in. You got to set boundaries. It's just part of developing a daily practice. So again, part of the practice, just developing a daily practice, is teaching you how to be consistent, how to make yourself a priority, how to set boundaries. And it also works because consistency creates knowledge. So think about it this way. Let's just say your daily practice is to breathe every day, just to breathe, right? Or we'll just do meditate. Your daily practice is to meditate every day, to just sit in silence for a few minutes. And you do that every day, and every day, it becomes a daily practice. It becomes kind of like the same thing every day, right? And then there's this one day where, like, because you've been doing it every day, there'll be a day where you feel compelled. And I don't know, it could be a year later, it could be 6 months later, it could be 3, I don't know. There'll be a day where you feel compelled to do something different, or you feel something different because you've been doing it every day. Now you're like, well, that's different. That's like, why did that happen? Why did I feel that? I swear this happened to me once in my daily practice. One day I just felt like singing. I have no idea. It's kind of embarrassing to admit that, but I'm telling you that happened. I like sitting on my yoga mat, doing my thing. And then one day I'm like, I just feel like singing. And I just started singing. And it was so weird. And it never happened again. But just that moment, because I've been doing it every day, I'm like, something's different. Something feels different. Oh, it's amazing too if you do like yoga. Like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden you're like, wow, like my body feels different. I've been doing this pose every day and now it feels really different. So let's just say your practice is walking and reflecting. Like maybe one day you just feel like compelled to do something totally different. Consistency brings knowledge. Consistency brings consistency brings knowledge to you about you. You start to learn more about you because every day you're giving yourself that moment to check in. And it could just be as simple as all of a sudden it's easier to breathe. All of a sudden it's easier to drop your breath to your belly. Because quite honestly, a lot of people that struggle with anxiety, they struggle with that. And it takes them a while. It may take you a while of doing your daily practice and getting your breath to drop to your belly to actually get it to happen. And then one day it'll happen and you'll be like, I don't know, wow. So you get the point. Yeah, you get the point. So, all right, and here's the last little piece, why daily practice works. It can become your rock during transitions. So life is crazy, right? Like life, things change. Things change. Like you move, you change jobs, you change locations, relationships change. But guess what doesn't need to have to change? Your daily practice. So this is key for if you struggle with anxiety, by the way, this is key. Because like if you struggle with anxiety, like moving around or through transitions or change, if change brings you anxiety, this one's a big one. Because if as you move through any transition in your life or through anything, the one thing that can always remain the same is that you get up and you do your practice. Again, this is another reason why I like the yoga mat thing, because it doesn't matter where you are, what the transition may be, you can still bring your mat, unroll it, and hop on there and check in with yourself. So it kind of becomes this anchor, this rock. So essentially what I'm saying is you become rooted with your daily practice. It becomes your foundation, right? Like it's very basic. It's the daily practice is a foundational piece. It's checking in with you. If you can't do that, then being able to understand the deeper meanings of your emotions and being able to take empowered action and being able to have more clarity about why you've been stuck, those things all build upon your daily practice. But it's got to start with a foundation, and the foundation is a rock that moves with you so you feel rooted everywhere, and it's something you do every day. So I hope that all makes sense. Examples of a daily practice. So I've been saying these throughout, but I'll just reiterate them real quick. So meditation is an obvious one. Yoga, journaling, writing, deep breathing, walking in silence. I say walking in silence because walking with music on, not really checking in, even with podcasts, you're listening. You're not listening to you. You're kind of listening to. So walking's an iffy one because you have to be able to take the time to reflect. So time in nature is huge. But similar to the walking in silence, like walking just in general, I've had people that cooking becomes their daily practice, playing the piano becomes their daily practice, dancing becomes their daily practice, and that's fine, and that works for some people. Didn't really work for me. Other people doesn't really work for because it's active. So if it's active, unlike yoga, where yoga is active, where you're checking in with yourself, like that's the point. Like when you're holding a pose, like you're checking in with yourself. Although yoga can become not a daily practice if you get too into the making it an exercise routine. So anyway, my point is, if you're someone who can cook and like it's very emotional for you, I have someone who like they love playing the piano, and when they play, it's just become their daily practice is playing the piano, and that is their time to just emote their emotions, whether it's joy or sadness or anxiety or fear. It just comes out with their piano playing. So, it really can be a variety of things. But if it's not serving as a time where you're on your own, it's an intentional check-in, and you're feeling how you're reflecting. If you're not doing that during your practice, then not really a practice, right? Like I personally couldn't cook and reflect at the same time. It would be a disaster. So, if you can, good on you. But so again, presence is key. Being present is absolutely key. So common traps over time. An obvious one, lack of presence, right? We just talked about that, right? So, you could start with the best intentions. Yoga is a great example for this one because a lot of people go into a yoga practice and they're like, in the beginning, they're like super, super present. But then before you know it, like you're just kind of moving through the motion. You're just kind of like going through the motions, and cooking, even journaling sometimes just like, oh my God. So if you're losing focus and presence, it's time to switch up your daily practice. And honestly, get back to basics. Get back to the breathing, because really, if you're focusing on your breathing, there's not really much else you can do besides check in and breathe. So that's a really, that's a great like go-to. Creation of rules. So like if all of a sudden, people that tend to have like they become they're more perfectionists, or they have more of like an addicted personality type. They can get into this mindset of like, they create these crazy rules where all of a sudden it's like, and I fall into this trap sometimes where it's like, okay, well, I did it for 15 minutes yesterday, so I better make it 15 today. And it's like, kind of missing the point. Remember the flexibility in the beginning. There's only one rule, and that one rule is you have to do it every day. So anytime any of these you find yourself like creating these other rules, that's a no-go. You need to reset. And in fact, I would say start over. Make it simple. Make it super simple, because you're going down the rabbit hole of creating rules. But that in itself is part of that consistency piece. That in itself is the teaching of the daily practice, right? This is why I love this topic, because it's so magical, right? Because think about it. That's your issue. That's one of your issues. If you're finding yourself creating rules in your daily practice, there's probably a good chance that you get hung up in life doing the same thing. And that's the teaching right there. So another thing, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but a little more in a second, but letting others be your guide. So that's a common trap. So people will say to me sometimes, oh yeah, I'm listening to a guided meditation, or, oh yeah, yeah, so that's I went to a yoga class. No, that's not a daily practice. Why? Listen, yoga classes are fantastic. Fine, go do your yoga classes, but you're not listening to you in a yoga class. You're listening to a teacher. You're listening to them guide you, and that's great, but that's not a daily practice. Listening to a guided meditation, I struggle with this one, because depending on the meditation, sometimes if they're getting you to check in, that can be fine. But honestly, like, the goal of a daily practice is you don't need anything or anyone but you. And that's it. You're your own inner guide. You can breathe, you can visualize, you can clear your mind, right? So that's a challenge for you, is like to not have those guides. Can you trust yourself enough to know that you don't need them? You're your guide. You're your guide to you. And that's what a daily practice is helping you figure out you. Obviously losing focus and giving up, those, you just kind of get to this point where, like, your values start conflicting. You don't want to make yourself a priority. It just falls by the wayside. I can't tell you how many people can't even make it through 7 days without being like, I couldn't even do it. I'm like, but there's no rules. You just had to do it. You just had to breathe. But they lose focus. They're things conflict. And so if that happens, if you start to lose focus, if you start to give up, if you find yourself relying on guides or creating rules, the gift is in the practice. So if any of those happen, that's the lesson, right? Like if for example, you start relying on guides, well, I would venture to say that in your life, you look outside of yourself for the answers. You're looking to a self-help book. You're looking to someone to just give you validation, or to give you the answer, to give you the guide, or to give you the next step. And I'm saying, no, no, like, that's most of my work with people, is trying to get them to realize that you have the answer, right? If you give up on yourself, there's a good chance that you give up on yourself in life. And if you lose focus, there's a good chance that you struggle to just focus on you and on your goals, and on you working through your why and the reason you wanted to develop this daily practice to begin with. So I think that's enough. I think I'm at time here. Now I guess I'll just open it up for questions.
Victoria, thank you so much. That was awesome. I really appreciate everything. And we do have a couple of questions that have already been queued up. And the first one is actually, it was actually going through my mind when it popped up on the screen. The question is, where do I get a yoga mat?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of places to get a yoga mat. You could just, honestly, they're everywhere now. Like Target has them, Walmart has them. You can order them on Amazon. Yeah, but get one you like. I'll say that.
So it's not a specialty item. We don't need to go to a magic yoga store and acquire said mat.
But no, but I will say this. I use a special mat. I have no affiliation with this company, but I use a Duca travel mat. And the reason I use their travel mat is because it folds up into this nice little square. I'm telling you, it's like the size of a notebook or something. And it's so easy to travel with. It's super thin and light. And I also like it because it's so thin that you can feel the earth beneath you, like as opposed to most traditional yoga mats that are like a little like plushy. I like to feel the earth. Like I like to feel that when I'm stepping on that thing, I am still connected to the earth. It's just my sacred little space, you know? So it's that, I'm just saying that one because it's like easy to fold up and bring with you. And again, you know, no excuses. You're traveling, you're visiting a friend, whatever it may be. It's just super compact, but they truly are everywhere. And I will just pick one that speaks to you. Pick a color that speaks to you. Pick a feel that speaks to you. There's a million and they're everywhere. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much. The next question is, how do we get in touch with you? But I think that question might have come in before your website and email popped up on the screen. So that's how.
Yeah, shoot me an email. That's, you know, obviously that's my personal email address. So just send it to me and I'm pretty quick with responding and good at responding. So yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And then the next question is moving to a couple of more serious questions. Do you find that a daily practice can help with things like major depression or depression and bipolar disorder, etc.?
Yeah, I do actually. So major depression. So, okay. So first I'll say this. It's not going to hurt you, right? So like you're not going to lose anything by trying it. So I'll say that because there's nothing, like it's just you taking a minute to reflect. So things are going to come up and come out. So okay, so part of the reason it's helpful is it's helping you check in. And, you know, part of that whole idea of creating a safe space is that it is just you, right? So if you're struggling with major depression or bipolar disorder, first of all, depression, like by doing a daily practice, you're making yourself a priority, right? Like that in itself is a step. That in itself is a step. And then if you're creating a safe space, so you can make that time really the time where you just let it out, whatever it is, explore, like learn about your emotions. You know, it's a safe space that you're creating for you. That can only benefit you if you're struggling with something like major depression. If you have bipolar disorder, the consistency piece is huge, right? Like that would be huge for you. Just having that steadiness. Remember, I said this is very foundational, right? So it's that rock. You are making this one little piece for your day. It becomes your rock when your emotions feel out of control, right? Like you at least know that you can just go have your safe space for a few minutes and just let that be what it needs to be and not have to show up for anyone else and do anything else for anyone or put on a whatever face for anyone. Like that is your time. Let it be what it needs to be. Cry, laugh, sing, whatever. It's your time and you're doing it for you and it's every day. There's consistency. So it helps kind of like, it's grounding, if that makes sense. It's like it roots you. So it can only help. And again, the very act of taking that time for yourself is powerful when you're struggling with those kinds of things.
Thank you, Victoria. Okay, this next question kind of rambles a little bit, so I'm gonna paraphrase it just a tad bit. But the crux of the question is you said that a daily practice is something that you do every day for yourself that makes you feel better. But what if the thing that you enjoy doing every day is for somebody else? So if and she gives an example of helping her children every day. Could a daily practice be helping my children every day? And she has some examples there, but that's the gist.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say no. And here's why. So yeah, like of course, that is an amazing gift. Like I'm sure you love to spend time with your kids, but it's that whole that whole analogy of you have to give yourself oxygen first before you can help your kids, right? So if you're not able to, you're not your kids, right? Like you're yourself. Like you need to make sure that you're solid and a rock and calm and understand how you feel to best show up for your kids, right? So you know, if someone's inclined to do something for someone else as their practice, and I don't know who asked that question, so this, you know, please don't take this personally, whoever asked that question. But what the red flag for me initially would be this: are you someone who's always giving to others? And while that's wonderful, do you often forget to give to yourself? Because that's what you're telling me, right? Like that's what that idea is telling me, that you want to give. And I get that it brings you great joy, but are you giving to yourself? Do you know how to give to yourself? And that would be the practice for that person, is learning to give to themselves, because they are their own being. They have their own emotions and their own needs. And if they want to continue showing up for others in that giving, loving way, it's necessary to have time to make sure you are solid with you and you are okay. And actually, quite honestly, it'll make your time with your kids and your ability to work with your kids and serve and give to your kids and whoever else you want to give to, it'll make you have more energy to do that, because you're filling up your well first. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And then the next question is, can you discuss how to journal for a person who has never journaled before?
Yeah. Okay, sure. So there's no rules. Okay, that's the first thing I'm going to say. So here's the best way that I have found to, quote, journal for these purposes of a daily practice, is to go get a completely blank journal. And I mean a journal without lines and a journal without images on the cover. And the reason I say that is because to journal for a daily practice, it's great to have the freedom to just let it be whatever you want it to be. If you feel like writing 3 words, do that. If you feel like writing a gratitude list, do that. If you feel like writing long notes of like, today I feel blah, 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 I did this, and I felt this way. So really, I guess I'll say this: to journal for a daily practice, make sure you're checking in with yourself. How do you feel? Maybe that's a good place to start. If you don't want to start there, you could say, what do I feel grateful for today? Some reflective question to spark your journaling. The reason why I like the journal to be blank and with no lines is because maybe one day you feel like drawing something. Maybe one day you feel like using a crayon. Maybe one day you feel like gluing a picture on the cover. It really can be more free-flowing, because the trap that people get into is they go out and they buy this beautiful journal and they buy a brand new pen and they sit down and they're going to journal, and they journal for 3 days. They're like going strong, and they journal like 4 or 5 pages with their black pen, and then it's just like it gets like the momentum's gone. So there's no rules. If you want to journal, just check in with yourself. What do you feel? And honestly, if you feel nothing, journal that. I feel nothing. Got nothing to say today. That's a journal entry. That's a check-in. That's also a thing to like ask yourself, well, why don't I feel anything today? So it's inquiry. That's all. No rules. There are no rules.
We love the no rules. No rules is going to be my new mantra. That might become my daily practice. I'll just wake up every morning and tell myself that there are no rules. And but no, I completely understand. Many folks have typed in thank you, that they appreciate you so much. They're looking forward to continue to follow your work. And I believe we have all of the questions answered. Do you have anything to add before we disconnect, Victoria?
No, I don't think so. Oh, I'll say this. If you want to start a journaling daily practice or something, I actually have a Facebook page. And I don't have like a, here's my Facebook page. I have a Facebook page called Daily Practice Prompts. But I believe the URL is like, I don't know if you have the URL, Gabe, in the World of Psychology page, but if you find my Facebook page, it's called Daily Practice Prompts, and every day every morning I post a prompt. It's a reflection piece. So if you're struggling, like if you want to make journaling, for example, your daily practice, or if you just want to have something to reflect upon and you're not really sure what to think about, you can use that as kind of a start. Again, caveat, eventually we want you to, really just check in and do that on your own, but it is a good place for people to start. Some people just like having that question to kind of get their thoughts going. So I do that on Facebook every day. It's kind of part of my daily practice, actually. So, so feel free to follow there and utilize those prompts if you think they could help you start your practice.
Excellent. Well, thank you so very much. Unfortunately, I don't have the Facebook page in front of me, but it's on your website, right?
Yeah, it's on my website, and I believe the URL is Victoria Gigante Coaching, but if that helps. But yeah.
We will Sherlock Holmes this and find it, we promise.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Yeah.
We really appreciate it. This video will be available on YouTube in approximately 48 hours. Please feel free to share. We thank everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next month.